Well, there he is. How you doing, Big A?
How's it going? You doing well?
Yeah, ready, fired up for tonight, launch night.
Too, man. I want to tell you right now, I couldn't be more excited to have you here tonight. Man, we have covered so much in the first 2 days. And if you haven't watched the replays yet, I want you to go back. Look at day 1. We talked about planning, and then go to day 2. We talked about building, and I hope it was beneficial to you. I hope you're going to be able to execute on this. Today, though, we're going to dive deep into how to launch your mastermind group, and I think this is going to be very, very exciting for you. And then tomorrow and Friday, we're going to show you how you can level up on growing and scaling your mastermind. I just want to tell you right now, you might want to turn off your phone and get ready to roll, because we're going to do this thing. I'm going to share some really important information with you tonight. And I'm going to educate you on how to do these masterminds and teach you how that I've generated over $6 million in revenue using this strategy. You know, I've never seen another business that it's able to start with such a minimal investment. And quite honestly, it's pretty surreal to me. So if you want to take full advantage of my knowledge and how to monetize your mastermind, I suggest right now you grab a cup of coffee, get a notepad, and let's get ready to roll on this journey.
Big A, real quick, before we start, I just want to remind people, because we're streaming on YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn. If you guys want access to the one-pagers, go to the mastermindlaunchintensive.com. That'll give you access to the Facebook group. It'll give you access to the replays, all the tools, and we do an after-party Q&A every night, so you can get in there and get more clarity on that. Otherwise, it's a packed night. Yeah, definitely take notes, and all you, Big A. So it's game on.
Get ready to go. I'm ready. It'll be good. Listen, I remember all the fears that I had when I started my first group. Man, honestly, I was scared to death, and these upper limit challenges were holding me down. These voices in my head kept saying, "Hey, nobody's going to join. Nobody's going to pay you to be in this group. And you've got to have the answers to everybody's question." Well, I want to tell you right now, that's a lie. You do not have to have all the answers. The power of a mastermind comes to life when you shift the focus from everything you know to getting the perspective from everyone else's side. The value is in the others' insights and from their experiences, not just yours. You just need the right framework to host the meeting. And this was the biggest revelation for me. Before starting the mastermind, I wondered what I would need to do to get them all going and get them together. Well, as I was really thinking through this, the pros and the cons of starting a mastermind, I was asking myself some very pointed questions. And the main question was, why do I even want to start one to begin with? Isolation is the enemy to excellence. And we were designed to live in community. And I knew that. And that's the reason I wanted to start a mastermind group. Well, I want to ask you, who do you have in your life that's willing to throw the flag? They're willing to call you out. Who's got your back during maybe some troubled times? Well, I don't know about you, but I've had to borrow other people's courage when mine was gone. Nobody can go this alone. No one has ever had huge success alone. And you know the old saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. Well, here's the cool thing about masterminds. You can go further, faster. Well, in this, I don't know if you're like me, but I'm a little bit skeptical by nature. And God gave you an intuition, and you need to trust it. And I remember John Wooden saying, be more concerned about your character than you are your reputation. And I don't know, but I try to live by that each and every day. And my mission is to help people, and I'm certain you feel this way as well. Well, I'm so excited to be transforming lives today. This is one of the main reasons that I really enjoy doing these masterminds. And it's cool to watch others have this massive success in their life, personally and professionally. And not only are you helping others, you're helping build an incredible asset. And the impact that you can have is really immeasurable. I want you to take a peek around you when you do these mastermind groups, because these are the people you're going to be doing life with. Masterminds really just keep on giving. My goal for this training is to help you launch a paid mastermind group, following our proven step-by-step process sometime over the next 30 days. We talked a lot about planning, building the first 2 days, and then it was all about launching today. And I want to ask you if you're inspired to take action. If you will, after tonight, I promise you're going to be excited and you're going to be ready to take action. And the second takeaway is I want you to become a connector. For me, it's been the fastest way to launch our mastermind groups. I want you to follow the strategies that I discussed later on, and I guarantee you'll love having conversations and making connections with other people. I want to ask you a question right now. Would you believe me if I told you that you probably have enough connections in your cell phone to launch your first 2 groups? Well, over the next 90 minutes, we're going to have and teach you to have the confidence to clarify how to launch your mastermind group. Are you ready for this? If you are, let's get going. My mom and dad were great. The only problem was they were just broke. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I knew what I didn't want to do, and I knew what I thought I could do better. And I decided at 15 years old to go to summer school and night school so I could graduate early. And later on, it would pay off because I was able to start my first business at 18 years old. And I can't even begin, though, to tell you how difficult that was. It was a very, very difficult journey. Well, I'm humbled today, looking back over the course of my career. I've been blessed to start 14 businesses over the past 4 decades. And I'll be honest, it wasn't all uphill. There was a time in my life where I felt really lost. There was a time you could say I lost my way. But it's pretty dangerous if you look back over your life and think, well, when you have a little bit of money and no schedule and zero accountability in your life, that's a pretty surefire way to have a catastrophe in your life. And that's what was happening to me. And it was great for a season, but I knew that there was more out there for me. Well, there was a real important time in my life joining the Eagles Mastermind. They were my go-to advisors. They really encouraged me to push through obstacles, but at the same time, they were really there for me to help slow me down when things were really too aggressive. And when I turned 50 years old, this was about 11 years ago, I decided to retire. My wife said I've retired more than the law allows. I've retired 3 times. And Dave Ramsey and Dan Miller told me, they said, listen, Big A, you should really think about coaching. And I started thinking about it, and I thought, I don't really want to do that because I'm going to be trading my time for money doing that. And I don't want to offend anybody here that's on this call today, but the truth is that one-on-one coaching is really not a business. It's just a high-paying job. And that's what I would find myself in if I started doing just one-on-one coaching. Well, I made a conscious decision about 6 years ago to really limit my one-on-one coaching. When I would go on vacation, I'd have to push pause on all the clients, and I would coach like 15 people at a time. And this was a pretty major loss for me in revenue each week when I was on vacation. And that day it dawned on me that I had a high-paying job and I didn't have a business at all. And really, by my experience over the years, I knew that in order to do this right, I had to build an asset at some point that I could sell. I didn't want to just close the door one day and walk away. So I decided to start a real business, and that was a mastermind. In the very infancy stages, I was a little bit reluctant at first, and I really didn't even want to do it at all because I had retired. But then when I started thinking about it, I thought, no, it was the right thing to do. So I started marketing our business, and I was doing this as a podcast guest, and all of a sudden, man, our groups really started filling up. Well, after a brief period of time, people started noticing what we were doing. They noticed that our masterminds were scaling, and thought leaders from all around the world started calling me, started paying attention to what we were doing. And they called me one day and they said, hey, would you teach us to do the same systems and processes that you're doing? At the time, I thought they were paying me a ridiculous amount of money. I look back now and think it wasn't so ridiculous, but at that time it was, because I was really teaching them to do something that was amazing. But here I found myself again coaching one-on-one. Brooke is my daughter, and she's also the COO of our business. And she came to me one day and she said, Dad, we really need to formulate a plan, possibly even build a course that would teach people to do what we're doing. Well, I didn't want to do that either, to be honest with you, because I knew the amount of time that it was going to take and the resources to really start that program. I knew it would be awesome, but I knew it would take us a long time. I wanted to think about it and kind of put her off a little bit, but I decided to finally do it, and we would put our head down and build a quality playbook. Well, meanwhile, my mastermind groups were growing like crazy, and I was like, man, my time is going to be divided now. I was really torn by what I should do. Things were really getting hectic, and I knew that I needed to really make a choice. So I started thinking through my core values, and I realized that one of my core values was really helping people. And it dawned on me that this would be a great way to do that as well. So it was time for the work to begin, and we had to get every system and process and job roles and hiring processes out on the table. Everything that we were doing, we had to lay it out so we could take a look at it. Well, this appeared at first glance to be really an insurmountable task. And to be honest, it took about 2 years to put this together, but we really got organized, and really it gave us insight into what we were doing. When I started thinking through all the processes, it really made our masterminds better. And then our groups even grew faster. So we hired a product developer to really take version 101 of the playbook and help us really create something that other business leaders we could help promote their business and take them to the level that they wanted to go with these masterminds. I was humbled, yet I was honored at the same time. Well, if you fast forward to today and now think about all the thought leaders and the coaches and the consultants and even small business owners that we were helping, there were people even like real estate investors, stay-at-home moms. We even helped them launch and grow masterminds. And I can't wait to share these practical strategies and systems with you tonight. And I want to encourage you to stick around. We've got about 90 minutes that we're going to be sharing, and I think it's going to really be helpful to you. And I want to ask you right now, how does that sound? Are you fired up? I've given you just a brief overview of my 40-year journey, and I just want to ask you, do you think that might be helpful? Listen, some of the things that I want to tell you that we're going to talk about tonight, there's 3 master keys to launching your mastermind group. Key number 1 is all about the steps you need to take to launch your group. Master key number 2 is about having kind of natural, what I call moving forward conversations. And then master key number 3, we're going to dive into where you find your ideal members online, plus my special bonus teaching you that the one channel that you need to be on if you want to fill up your groups fast. But real quick, we're going to be sharing one-pagers with you tonight that can help you. And you can always go back later and finish these. We're going to give you 3 one-minute breaks to really review the questions so that we just kind of give you context about what we're talking about. You can finish them on your own time when it's possible, and it's going to be for your benefit, but we want to work with you tonight because we know that you're action takers. And if you're watching this on YouTube or Twitter or LinkedIn, make sure to go over to mastermindlaunchintensive.com to get access to all the tools and the discussion and the replays from the training that we had this week. Well, in master key number 1, the ultra simple strategy that we use to launch mastermind groups, I don't want you to overcomplicate this. It's really easy to get stuck in your own head. You just need to go at this one step at a time. And I want to show you how to launch your first mastermind, identify your ideal member, and pick a focus or a niche. Plan out your calendar, get clear on your offer, and understand the format of your meetings. Are you good with this? Are you still with me? Hang in there. It's a lot of information. I know we're going fast, but I think it's going to be beneficial to you. You know, I launched multiple groups along the way, but things started really falling through the cracks. I mean, payments went missing, books were getting delivered to the mastermind members, and I didn't have a good way to onboard new members at all. And at first, I didn't have an application process, and that was a huge mistake. I didn't have a mission statement, and my core values weren't really even established yet. And I didn't have a single process or a system. I just want to tell you, I was a complete train wreck. Well, have you ever read the book Rocket Fuel? If you haven't, you need to read it because it was an absolute game changer for me. I was competent to do the task, but it certainly wasn't in my lane of genius. You know, I'm a visionary and I needed an integrator who could bring order to my chaos. We had a manual payment system that was driving us absolutely crazy. I can't even begin to tell you how messed up our payment system was. And I'm embarrassed to admit to you, we were running a legit business, but we had no real systems. There was nothing in place. Well, we got clear on our vision and we developed our core values. And man, I can't even stop to thank the people that helped me get those core values in place. We really mapped out our recruiting and our onboarding process, and we created job roles and descriptions. We had real planned out work plans and we had process maps. We drafted a standard operating procedure, and then we created an operations manual for our business. I'll just say we would have made Gino Wickman a proud man. Well, now that we looked like a real business and we had to develop a concrete framework that we could follow, I created a plan to launch our first mastermind group. And I've created a strategy that we can help you do this in 28 days or less. Now, I know that's cooking, that's moving on pretty fast, but we've created the system to be able to do this. And as a reminder, we talked at length about some of these previous trainings, but the first step was to identify the ideal member. And you want to be crystal clear on your avatar, something that I didn't do in the beginning, but as time went on, I knew how important it was to get crystal clear on this avatar. Well, next, you have to decide on the basic foundations of the mastermind, like the specific niche that you want to fall in your focus, and even the groups that you want to start, and even the prices that you're going to charge. Now, this was difficult for us at first, but we've kind of worked through that, and I'm going to give you some tips on how to do that. Well, step 3 would be to plan your launch calendar. The better prepared you are ahead of time, the more success that you're going to have. And then when I started thinking about step 4, this would be to craft your mastermind offer. Because if they don't understand clearly what you are offering them, there's a huge opportunity to have unmet expectations. And then finally, step number 5 would be to create a loose meeting format. It doesn't have to be regimented. It doesn't have to be exact. It can be flexible, but you at least need to be able to explain the meeting format and what that generally looks like. Well, by creating a structured framework, we could now function at a much higher level. We were really organized by this time, and we actually looked like a real business. We were no longer duct taped together. Another great book for you to read, if you haven't yet, is Dan Sullivan's book, Who, Not How. And we found the right who's, and we started to grow our team. And then you know what happened? We started to grow our groups even faster. You know, when you get the right framework and then you have the right team members, it's way easier to kind of wash, rinse, and repeat the process. Well, the best part was I now didn't have to lead all the groups. And man, that was amazing when we started doing this. It allowed me to focus on training our facilitators. And this allowed me personally to scale iron sharpens iron. Well, now that I was ready to scale, this was great, but I still didn't have any real plan on how to promote what we were doing. And I would just throw ads and videos on social media and pray that somebody contacted me. Now, let me just ask you today, how stupid was that? I mean, to just throw an ad out there with no rhyme or reason. Well, we started to get serious on looking ahead and making a plan for what we would do with the groups ahead. So we were trying to schedule. We were trying to think ahead just a little bit. And this would give us an incredible amount of clarity, which generated content for the ad campaign. So our team then could take what we were going to do and they could look ahead. Well, it's pretty amazing what you can get done when you know what your daily activities are going to be and you know exactly what platforms you're going to promote your mastermind on. And our team could plan our every move every single day. Gotta take a drink of water occasionally. There's a lot of information. So y'all be paying, give me a little space when I need a drink. Well, since I had been in the bricks and mortar business all my life, I had to take an entirely different approach to marketing this online space. Then I would do things differently. But today, I could do a tweet, I could do a live Facebook Live, I could do a blog, and I could instantly reach thousands of prospects. And I really wasn't used to that, because when I first started, we had a different method that we did in the bricks and mortar space. But when we started doing this, I thought, man, this is going to be absolutely incredible. Well, I had to hire coaches and other thought leaders to meet with me and really share some ideas and give me best approach to sharing my message, because I'd never done this. And I know a lot of you out there today are feeling that same angst, and you're wondering, like, I don't even know how to do this. And that's the reason we created this process, to help you figure that out. Well, we got very deliberate in creating these blogs and memes and Facebook Lives, and we really started attacking the podcast circuit with a vengeance. And then once you understood how to stitch everything together and really point all your marketing towards a single focus, you really started to get results. And I'll tell you, we still get amazing results today using this strategy. Well, I was so nervous about picking the best day and the time for our masterminds to meet. And I want you to relax thinking about this a little bit today, because the best time in the day for you to meet is really whenever you want. And that's the way I really feel about it today. It's your decision, because we're building a lifestyle business, and we determined for us whatever fit my lifestyle and my schedule, then that's what we went with. And the new members just learned how to adapt. This actually is pretty cool if you think about it, because I was trying to build a lifestyle to where I only worked 4 days a week. And so all of our groups today even meet just Monday through Thursday. Well, then it was time for me to think through how that we could make the most noise. And what I mean by that is, how could we get our message out? Dan Miller was a mastermind member with me, and he suggested that I really consider being a podcast guest. And I told you once before, no one had ever even heard me, ever. And I didn't even know what a podcast was years ago. This is probably just another great illustration of how, if I can be successful doing this, anybody could do this. So I got my courage up and I reached out to Entrepreneur on Fire, John Lee Dumas. He was starting out at that time, and he agreed to interview me. Well, this really opened up a whole new world to me. It was something that was brand new, but it was pretty exciting at the same time. So then I had to get to work and build a system on how to reach out to other podcast hosts. I really thought, man, I need to do something like a pitch sheet, something that had all of my important stats on it. And I then had to create a workflow that would allow me to systematically reach out to everybody. Well, sharing our message on podcast has allowed us to leverage their audience. Instead of me starting one on my own, I just thought I'll leverage every one of their audiences. Well, it's pretty amazing how one step really led to the next. Once I picked a primary means of marketing, it gave me tons of ideas on creating content. It also gave me great clarity and focus on streamlining my message. I started writing blogs, which then led to creating lead magnets. And this was an awesome way to watch people downloading these, which really was cool because it was building my list simultaneously. I would start dropping subtle hints and comments about launching new mastermind groups in the future. And the audience got really excited about this. And the real idea was to add value. That's what I always kept in my mind. The sales will take care of themselves if I'll just continue to try to add value. Well, my primary objective became always adding value to everyone's audience. Well, I never realized it in the beginning how our mastermind could have grown so rapidly. There have been so many challenges along the way, and I wish that our growth had been painless, but the truth is that there were many obstacles along the way. And building the mastermind is an ongoing process, and there will be limiting beliefs along the way, and you might even catch yourself comparing yourself to others. And there was a time in my life where I was comparing myself to Dave Ramsey. And to be honest, that didn't serve me well at all. I needed to keep focus on what I was trying to do and not what Dave was trying to do. Well, I figured out a long time ago that it's about the who and not the how. And you can hire a freelancer today. And man, when I was introduced to this, it was a game changer. There's places out there like Fiverr that used to cost me tens of thousands of dollars to do. And I was really struggling on this. And now it would only cost like $100 to build a website instead of thousands and tens of thousands of dollars. But based on your abilities, I want you to figure out what you can do. And then I want you to outsource everything else. And if cash flow is limiting you, I want to be the first to tell you, if nobody has it, YouTube can be your best friend. I can't tell you how many YouTubes I watched over the course of all this many years that I started. And when we get really focused today, I can see clients and how they pull everything together in a really cool funnel, and they can launch these campaigns just in a few days by using these outsourced services. So don't try to reinvent the wheel. The resources and the tools are available for you to pull all the necessary pieces together to make you hugely successful. You know, I was scared at first to start a mastermind. I had been in a mastermind for about 12 years already, but I was a member of the mastermind. I wasn't the facilitator. My first thought was, if I'm the facilitator, I'm going to have to know how to answer everybody's question, and I'm going to have a solution for all their problems. And let me just tell you, this is not true. You see, the value of a mastermind is from the perspective and the insights of the members around you, not just from the facilitator. The mastermind framework does all the heavy lifting, and you need to let it do that. By having this in place, I can relax in the group and let the natural process take place. Well, you may be feeling right now this big lump in your throat. And if you are, that's okay, because I've felt that so many times, I can't even begin to tell you. But anytime you start anything new, it's going to be easier the next time, right? The second time is always easier. And I want you to give yourself permission to not know. It's okay to walk this journey and understand the nuances over time. Don't think you have to have everything figured out right at the beginning. But once we laid out one problem at a time and then we corrected it, the next right step was just a lot easier. You know, we're having success today because I gave myself permission to try something new. You know, in this master key number 1, I want to tell you, we've got to do a brief overview. We've got to think about how to create that content calendar. How will you be heard? What is that noise out there? How can you create that noise? And then you decide on the day and the time that your mastermind is going to meet. And then you've got to pick your marketing platforms, and then you've got to create that content. That's what you need to do. Those are the keys in master key number 1.
Awesome, Big A. So it's time for a one pager. I know you need a little bit of a break, so I'm going to start the timer here in a minute. And let me go ahead and share my screen. So tonight's one pager. This is day 3. So we've had a planning one pager, a building one pager, and then tonight's is a launching one pager. So as you go through this, just go ahead and answer the questions best you can. Again, we want you guys to have context. Go and do the best you can. Go back when you have time and start to work this through, because really what these 3 one pagers we're giving you is the start of a business plan. So let me share my screen, and we put the link in the Facebook group. If you're not in the Facebook group, you need to go to mastermindlaunchintensive.com, and that will give you access to this one pager, all our replays, the community, and we're also doing we're going to jump into rooms and do some video chats if you have any questions. So go to mastermindlaunchintensive.com, and you'll get access to this one pager. So let's take a 1-minute break. Let Big A get some water, and we'll come back here in a minute, and we'll go on to master key number 2.
Well, hey, let's get started on how to get people asking to join your mastermind. Hopefully, you now understand the first couple of steps in preparing to launch your first mastermind. Now, I want to teach you the value of having natural conversations with others to get them interested in your group. And I want to show you how to be a giver and not a taker, how to let their story be their story, how to be present in the moment, ways that you can always be connecting others, and finally, how details really do matter. You know, I didn't have any money to start a business. I was 19 years old. What about that hair I've got there? Is that not incredible? That's my beautiful mom in that picture. My mom was an amazing person. She was a huge encourager to me. Only thing is, my dad was a terrible businessman. He just didn't know how to make any money. But this is a picture of me at 19 years old when I got ready to start my first business. I didn't know for sure what I wanted to do for a living, but I knew what I didn't want to do, and I didn't want to work manually like my dad had to his entire life. Well, I approached two men that really helped me understand how to make money. And these two guys were mentors of mine. They own the 21st largest insurance company in the world. And they asked me one day, they said, "Hey, how much will it cost to start a pawn shop?" And I thought, man, listen, there is no telling what it would take to start that pawn shop. But let me think about it. They asked me for a pro forma, and I didn't have any way to give it to them. I didn't have a clue how much it was going to take to start that business. But I put together what I call a big A style pro forma on a piece of paper. And that's how we got started in our first business. Well, I found a location and I negotiated a lease. And my beautiful wife and I got married. This was years ago. And she went out and helped me with this. But we needed customers really, really bad. And we needed to get the word out. So Robin and I were willing to do whatever it took to tell the world that we had a business. And there were a lot of sacrifices along the way. I can't even begin to tell you the things that we missed along the way. And it made me realize that we have to do some things sometimes that we don't want to do. For example, for 9 years, when I first started this business, I had to give up 2/3 of the business in order to allow me to be a participant because I didn't have any money. But later on, we sold that to a Fortune 500, and this really gave me a springboard to start another company. I want to share a few of the practices that have really worked well for me in starting natural conversations over the years. First of all, is to be a giver and not a taker. The second thing is let their story be their story. And then you've always got to be present in the moment. And then always be connecting people. And then finally, details matter. You know, because I take this approach, I get asked often to speak everywhere around the world. People like to hear my story because I talk about living a life of success and significance. And when you put others first, there's this natural law of reciprocity. People will line up to help you when they know that you really care about them. And I've learned over time that mentors will get you there a lot faster than books will. Well, I want to tell you a quick story. I was at a Starbucks recently at the Opryland Hotel. They had podcast movement going on. There was a guy standing in line in front of me. Well, I do this every single time I go to Starbucks, but I bought his coffee. And then he looked at me and said, "Why are you doing that?" And I said, "Man, I just want to bless you today." Well, we walked away from the register and we stood there for the next 15 minutes really talking about life and business. And he started asking me questions about what I do. It gave me a great opportunity to talk to him about our mastermind. And I thought it was really cool. Doing something nice for somebody allows you opportunities to be able to talk to them. When you are a giver, it always opens up new opportunities. And I've never found it where it didn't happen every single time. I want you to pick your method or strategy that feels really comfortable for you. I enjoy treating others to coffee and meals. And quite honestly, I do this a lot anonymously, but oftentimes I'll do it and it'll strike up a conversation. What I've discovered is it's hard not to be happy, me as an individual, when I'm thinking really more about others than I am myself. Well, this is a tip that's going to be worth your time being here tonight. Every single one of us do this all the time. I see it in Facebook every single day. It's played out on almost every post. And I want you to think about this just for a minute if you do this. I want you to let other people's story be their story. And what I mean by that, don't think you have to match people or one up them. Robin and I went to Hawaii a few years back, and while we were there, we took a lot of pictures. And when I returned, I showed one of the pictures to a friend of mine. And he said, "Oh, yeah, I've been there. That's beautiful. Did you get to go here?" Well, the problem with that is it takes the highlight off the person telling the story. And I just want you to know that in order to really make them feel good, you need to dive deeper. You just need to learn to ask more questions. You need to dive deep into the details and ask them more about their trip than it is trying to match them or one up them. What I've learned over time is that others will feel like you really care if you really start asking them more questions. 3 weeks ago, I was fishing behind this young man's house, and he was standing on the boat dock at the time, and I started asking him questions about himself. And he couldn't believe that I was taking the time to just sit there and talk to him, asking him how long he had lived there, what the story was about his opportunity in moving there, if he had children. And I don't think it was a coincidence, but he started asking me questions throughout the conversation. And I've found that others really appreciate it when you're proactive in talking to them and taking a greater interest in them and being present. This pays huge dividends. And I just want to encourage you today, whether it be personally, professionally, I want you to be present in all the details. I always want you to be connecting also. How many of you know Michael Stelzner? Michael Stelzner owns a company called Social Media Marketing World. And Michael was an unexpected person for me to get connected with. But over the course of about a 3-year period, a gentleman made a connection with me and him there. And after this connection, he invited me to speak at Social Media Marketing World. And the reason that he did that is because someone, Chris Kermitzos, had connected us. And I just thought it was a pretty cool opportunity to be able to speak there after making this connection. And, you know, I've developed a strategy for doing this, and it's been a big part of my day. And this could be a real cool strategy for you as well. I also want to talk to you about details and why they matter. I have amazing people around me today that pay a lot of attention to the fine print because I'm not really good at all the minutia. Bob Warren was a good friend of mine, and he was my mentor, and he taught me to really pay attention to the details. For me, that's what people do. They really help me because relationships matter most to me. Well, Bob taught me to really lock eyes with people and really pay attention to them. And I don't know if you've ever been at a restaurant with somebody and you're trying to talk to them and they're looking everywhere else. Bob taught me to really pay attention to them, and they will feel like they're most important. And then for me, I've learned to delegate the other opportunities to other people and really pay attention to the things that matter to me most. And this frees me up to really help people go to a different level and a higher task. Well, there's a guy out there, his name is Scott Beebe. He owns a company called My Business on Purpose. And Scott is the founder of the company and was a client of mine for a number of years. And I taught him all 5 of these strategies and these steps to help him with his clients over the years. And today he has a thriving business. He's crushing it because he has implemented every one of these strategies that we've taught him. A lot of people say, well, Big A, yeah, that's good for you, but I'm not you. I'm not the connector. Well, when I was in the bricks and mortar space, I wasn't a connector either. And it's definitely a learned skill, but it's been fun really thinking about new ways to connect others. And I personally use video a lot to make short introductions. And I have connected people all the time using videos. And you can do this same thing. Create a little framework, whatever best suits your personality. But for me, it's emails and video is the ticket. I really believe that being a connector has opened up more doors for me than anything else ever could. It always comes back to you 10x. Well, people say, hey, I don't know what to say. Well, early in my career, I wanted to tell others about myself. And I just want to tell you, that's a big mistake. I was pretty arrogant and cocky and even condescending when I was a young guy. And I wanted to tell everybody how smart I was. Well, this absolutely was a huge mistake. But what's worked really best for me is when I say to people, hey, would you please tell me your story? And then from there, people just need to be heard. And you need to start digging deeper. You need to really get into their life and start asking them questions. People want to talk about themselves. And so you need to provide a platform to let them do that. You're going to be freaked out at how others will start talking if you'll just prime the conversation. And you don't need to know what to say. You just need to learn how to ask better questions. What about those that are shy? Well, some of you out there are horribly isolated right now because you're so shy. And I want to just say, man, you got to loosen up just a little bit. There are so many areas that I've had to work on in my life. Being shy is not one of them, you can tell. But I was, as I said earlier, pretty arrogant at times. I could even be condescending. And I had to work on those things in my life. And what I want to encourage you to do is to try to overcome this demon of being shy and step out of your comfort zone a little bit and practice introducing yourself to others. There will be so much satisfaction for you when you start doing this. Well, I just want to say that right now, what you really need to start doing is, in order to have these natural conversations, you need to be a giver, not a taker. You need to let their story be their story. You need to be present. You always need to be connecting people, and details matter. That's what you need to do. I know we've got a 1-minute timer. We're going to give you the next worksheet to work on. Zach, you've got that ready for them? Unmute, Zach. We can't hear you.
There we go.
There we go.
So on this one pager, guys, I wanted to explain it just because we went into more of Big A's personal system on how he builds connections and has natural conversations. So this one pager, when you look at the second section, there's going to be 2 spots. Let me pull it up first. Yep, here we go. Okay, so on this one, we're in the middle section where it has connections. We want you guys on the left side to list your target 50. So if you were to go through your phone, just scroll through your phone and find and just start to identify those that you think would be a good fit for your mastermind, or someone that you could talk to just pitch the idea, and maybe they'll have feedback for you. So under your target 50, we want you to go through your personal contacts. And if you don't have 50, that's okay. But try to find as many as you can and just list them on this row here. The Dream 100 is for influencers. So if you're in, let's just say you're in the entrepreneur space, your A-level influencers will be your Pat Flynn's, your Tim Ferriss, JLD, John Lee Dumas. Those, it's great if you can get on those shows. But if you don't have a list or a following, what we suggest is you actually go to some of the smaller podcasts, get on those shows, provide a ton of value, tell your stories, give away lead magnets, whatever it takes. Get on as many Dream 100 shows as you can. So you may start with B and C level influencers, but over time, just like Big A did, you're going to build up the muscle, and your people will start to hear you, and you'll get invited back for multiple shows. So let's spend a minute on your one pager. We'll put the timer back on, and we'll be back for master key number 3.
Well, I hope you're still with me. Hope you're enjoying this. Hope you're getting a few nuggets out of it. Is it making sense? Are you understanding exactly kind of the process? Man, I sure hope so. Where do you find great members? This is one of the most asked questions that I get. And I want to teach you in this section the fundamentals of prospecting regardless of your channel. You know, we will primarily be discussing the platform that has worked best for me, which is being a podcast guest. And I'll teach you how to build the one sheet and how to reach out to the podcast host. And if you want to capture the heart of the podcast host, you've got to promote the show that you're on. We will also discuss the importance of thorough research and how placing high value on authenticity always will get you further. Are you getting a basic understanding so far? Please put any thoughts or questions in the chat box and a member of our team is going to respond. But I want to talk to you now a little bit about prospecting. For me, prospecting seemed like Greek at first. I mean, actually, I didn't know anything about it whatsoever. I felt like everyone else was speaking a foreign language. I mean, I felt helpless. And a few people told me, listen, you need to podcast. And I told you already a couple of times, I'd never heard of a podcast. I'd never been a guest on podcasts. I didn't know anything about podcasting. I'd never listened to any. I just didn't know anything about it. But, you know, I had an epiphany one day. I started thinking about that. I said, listen, if somebody else can figure this out, I could as well. So that's exactly what I did. I began to read every book that I could get my hands on, every article, every blog, every YouTube, every podcast that I could listen to. I started listening. I even started listening to shows that I didn't even know what the topics were about. And then I started reaching out to hosts and I asked a million questions. And I did something that most people would have never done. If you had a microphone, I would be your guest. No question about it. I didn't care what the show was about. I just wanted exposure, and it worked. People in that community started hearing me everywhere. Now, about time I was off to the races. Well, I figured that if I was going to do this ongoing, I had to better get prepared, and I did get prepared. I learned really quick what the host needed. So I built what was called a one sheet with all of my vital information on it. You know, I did my research. I was authentic in every conversation that we had. I started reaching out to all the podcast hosts. And finally, I started following up with the host and all of the leads that would come out of that. Well, I was pleasantly surprised when one day I did an interview and I filled up 2 groups. And I don't know about you, but that's pretty cool. When you do an interview on any podcast, I want you to remember it's evergreen. And I never thought about that in the initial stages. It never goes away. And even today, I still get clients from interviews that I did 5 years ago. I want to tell you, podcasting, that strategy is absolutely solid gold. Well, when I found out that very few guests had ever done a one sheet, I knew exactly what I was going to do because I always like to do things differently than other people. I was going to rock their world, and I was going to have a document with every single thing that they needed on it. I knew this would get me in the door because the host didn't have to do all the hard back end work. So I created a press kit that contained a headshot, the talking points, my bio, any suggested introduction topics, any social media links that I needed. And then I put it online so it was easy to find. And, you know, today I'm approaching about 3,000 podcast interviews using this exact system. And you can do the exact same thing. I want to encourage you today to think about being a guest. Remember, 8 years ago, I'd never even heard of a podcast. Well, my first interview was on Entrepreneur on Fire with John Lee Dumas. I had 15 one-on-one clients following that interview. Man, it just happened so fast. It was incredible to me how effective that was. Well, then I started down this podcast trail, booking every show that I could. I realized the more research I did on that show, I realized that the host better understood that I did the deep details, as I talked about earlier. I wanted to be a great guest, so I really had to do the research. Every time I got better and better. And I'll be honest with you, if you're like me at first, you're going to suck really bad when you do those podcast interviews. But I want you to keep practicing because you're going to continue to get better. Doing the research has made me a better guest. And honestly, I've learned so much by digging deeper. If you give your best, you'll be awesome. The hard work's going to pay off. Well, a mastermind member admitted he was not always authentic to me when we started talking about being authentic. And I said, hey, this must be exhausting to live a double life standard. And I've had so many wrong turns over the course of my life, but being authentic will open doors like you can never imagine. You know, you see this picture of my wife and my granddaughter here. I want to be authentic to them as well as I do in the business world today. And I want you to help people find a safe place to discuss what they need to be authentic with, whether it's their struggles and frustrations, any dreams and desires that they may have in life lessons that they've learned, and then really the journey that they're on now. And having lived this life for more than 2 decades has created relationships for me that are really meaningful. You know, I started thinking about reaching out to the host. People like John Lee Dumas and Jordan Harbinger and Pat Flynn, listen, they're just like me and you. They're just normal people. I want you to relax a little bit and realize that you just need to reach out. I mean, they all want to do business just like you do, and they're just normal folks. Well, after a few months of reaching out, it became quite enjoyable, and the journey turned out to be life-changing for me. Once you get a couple of wins under your belt, you'll begin to feel like a pro. It's just going to take a little bit of time. And if you want to do the same path I did, you got to start out with kind of B and C level influencers. You know, I got lucky getting on John Lee Dumas's show out of the gate, but that wasn't the norm. I had to start out with these B and C level influencers to start with. And then I followed up with a personal email. And if you're really brave, do what I do and send a video message. And I want to tell you, 98% of the time, this is a home run. And the reason it's so effective is very few people have the courage to do it. But if it's a different platform, the technique really remains the same. It doesn't have to be podcasting. And I know you'll be able to do this as well. I want you to ask the host, how can I help you promote the show? That is the most important question you could ask him at the end of the interview. You know, I was on Ray Edwards' show, and I did a custom video promoting the show and sent it to him before he asked for anything. It absolutely blew his mind. He couldn't believe that I took the time and the effort to do that. And I want to encourage you to do the same thing when you're a guest on these podcasts. Don't even have to be that meeting. It can be anything. If you'll do a follow-up, send a video and endorse it, they will be absolutely thrilled. Well, I get so many new opportunities today because I'm always trying to think outside the box and do different techniques to promote others. And we have created now a library of shows that we use to help us generate interest in other areas. But being a guest is such an awesome way to promote your mastermind. You know, I mentioned Ray Edwards a few minutes ago. Ray's a great friend now. Early on, like all of them, I didn't even know him. But after the interview, he called my phone and he asked me, he said, hey, man, do you have a few minutes to chat? And I said, absolutely. What is it? He said, I've been running mastermind groups and hosting podcasts for decades now, but I've got to tell you, I'm scrapping everything that I've done the old way, and I'm adopting everything that you just taught me. Well, I don't know about you, but coming from a guy like Ray Edwards telling me that, I thought that was pretty cool. You know, I don't have any interesting things to share. Some people say this oftentimes, but the truth is at first, I didn't really think my story was that interesting or important either. But over time, I learned what really resonated with other people. Time can help you clarify your message, and it becomes easier to share it along the way. What we suggest at first, though, do your homework, get your spouse or get a good friend to dive deep, really ask you questions. Because if you think back, when you really hit these emotional moments in your life, and when you start sharing that, now you're tugging on their heartstring. This is what the audience really wants to hear. Some people also tell me, hey, Big A, I don't have the equipment. Well, all you need, listen, is a decent microphone. You can get like a Yeti for $130. You probably already got a computer, and then all you need is a quiet place to record the interview. That's it. That is all you need for the equipment. Listen, if you want an excuse not to do this, you've got to pick a different excuse than the lack of equipment. That one's not going to hold water. You know, I've still never built another business with this limited amount of equipment. You're going to find it amazing what you can do on a shoestring budget. Well, listen, are you still with me? I mean, are you hanging out there? I just want to know right now, if anybody could be any less known than me, I want you to raise your hand. Nobody even ever heard of me. I was in bricks and mortar for 35 years, but it's been really fun to walk through this slowly and become known shortly over time. And I just want to tell you, these interviews can do the same thing for you. It happens slowly over time, and that's okay with me, because every week now I'm getting invites to be on shows, and you will too. You know, in master key number 3, I just want to ask you, first of all, are you still with me? Wake up, get that coffee warmed up. I want to make sure that you've got the fundamentals down to prospecting regardless of your channel. You know, we discussed a platform, and the one that works best for me is the podcast guesting. Something may work better or differently for you. And I want to make certain that you know how to build a one sheet. This is really important if you're going to do podcast guesting. And I express the importance of thorough research. Really do your homework, do your notes, and you'll have a better opportunity to make an impression on that podcast host and the guests that are listening. And more than anything, I want to stress the value of authenticity. Today, people are starving to death for you to be authentic. And I can't overemphasize the value of being authentic. Well, listen, I hope you picked up on also how we really reach out to podcast hosts. And then finally, I want to point out that in order to capture the hearts of the podcast host, you've got to promote the podcast. Listen, are you still with me out there? Are you hanging with me? Is this helpful? Zach, do you think this has been helpful to the audience tonight?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's been, tell you what, there's a ton of nuggets in there, and it really just comes down to implement and take all that you've learned over the first 3 days, and just if at a minimum, you can put it on the one pager and start to build your business plan. You're going to be light years ahead of where most people are at, because it really is simple. We've laid out some pretty effective strategies. Day one, we talked about planning. Yesterday, we talked about building, and really showed you how you can get launched for free. But we did give you a tech stack that you can build. And today, you know, some of these launch strategies, they just work. If you're a connector, you can put yourself out there. Really the world is your oyster. So just make things happen. So on this one pager, there's a to-do section here. What we've also put in is notes that you have from the intensive so far. So feel free to jump into the Facebook group. Again, the way to get access to that, if you're watching on a different channel, is to go to the Mastermind Launch Intensive.com, and I'll give you a private key to get in there. But also type in questions that you have for the team. So when we jump into the groups tonight or tomorrow or Friday, have those questions ready to go so we can give you clarity. Do you need help understanding what to name your group, or how to price your group? There's so many different questions that we get hit with all the time. So just put your questions in there and make it happen. On the to-do section, we listed out a couple of to-dos, but this should be an extensive list. Like, we have probably 20 different things that we recommend most people do when first getting started or first working on their launch. So take your time. We'll spend one more minute filling this out. And then again, after this call, we'll jump in the Facebook group for 20 minutes. We'll have an after party. Feel free to jump in there. Just post that you have a question, and we'll jump into a room together, and we'll go from there. So we'll see you back here in about 1 minute.
So let me ask you a question. If you followed what I showed you in master key number 1 and followed the launch strategy I showed you, can you only imagine waking up knowing that there's more money in your bank than you ever thought possible before? You have everything you need to take care of your obligations. All your bills are paid to date. Man, would that not be amazing? Well, listen, having both the time and freedom to do the things that you actually want to do, would that not be incredible? Just think about it for a second. Then you started building these authentic relationships daily, like I showed you in master key number 2. Spending every day doing something of real value and impact, creating thriving relationships that are authentic and real. And then you use podcast or other high leverage channels like maybe YouTube or LinkedIn to drive qualified traffic to your pipeline of applicants. Would that not be cool? Well, hey, do you think you could get maybe 1 or 2 mastermind groups launched in the next 90 days? Would this be the catalyst maybe to living the life that you've always dreamed to live? Hey, are you guys feeling pretty good right now? I mean, are you still with me? Are you excited? I hope I haven't put you to sleep. I hope this has been just an incredible presentation. I hope that you're excited today about what we've talked about. But I want to ask, are some of you maybe feeling a little bit overwhelmed right now because of the amount of information that we've covered? I get it, man. It's a lot. We have covered so much information today. And even though we've tried this and it works, it is absolutely impossible to show you everything that you need to get the results that we've achieved over the past 7 years in a limited amount of time. But if it's okay with you, I want to spend the next 10, 15 minutes going over a very special offer I have created for you. Is that okay? Are you up for that? Well, I certainly hope so. Listen, there's no need to imagine any longer what I'm talking about. It's called the Mastermind Playbook. And the Mastermind Playbook is something that we've been doing for the better part of 3 years now. We've been putting together an entire business in a box program to help you achieve success. It's the most practical A to Z system for launching and growing and scaling your mastermind group that is in the market today. And here's what you're going to get if you invest in the Mastermind Playbook today. You are getting the Mastermind Playbook 2022 Founders Edition, so you can really take your time and then launch your first couple of paid mastermind groups immediately. You can go at it with your own pace if you would like, but you can come out of the gate fast if you elect to. And then you can shift to a growth mindset, not to just grow more groups, but learn how to grow your team. We're going to help you focus on your business systems that will help you scale faster. Listen, doesn't $25,000 or $50,000 a month in recurring revenue sound really attractive to you? Well, we want you to shift from working in your business to working on your business, where the focus becomes more like an investor instead of an operator. I also want to give you guys your very own customized mastermind fill-up campaign. I want to invite each one of you to meet with my launch team to determine the best path forward to fill up your mastermind group. You know, I've got a great idea for you today. And after understanding the Mastermind Playbook, you can scale back on those one-to-one coaching and personal interactions and concentrate more on leveraging your time. It really took me a number of years to figure this out before I scaled the Mastermind. I want you to watch these 2 testimonial videos just for a moment.
I have owned a franchise before, and I was telling Big A that what he is offering is far more detailed and much more turnkey than the franchise that I bought for a real estate business. And I paid far more money than what I did for the playbook. So it's a great value. Can't recommend it enough. They do a great job, and I'm looking forward to the success we have in the future.
I think the thing I was most curious about with the Mastermind Playbook is I knew Aaron could do it, but I didn't know if I could do it. And the playbook is great because it is each step, how to do this, how to do this, how to do this. But the live event really for me was like the mortar between the bricks. It was the idea, getting in the room with people, the synergy that you create with other people hearing their ideas. It's kind of like the mastermind experience itself. It was really pretty great to be able to be here. And the team that the Mastermind Playbook includes in the live event, including guys like Scott and Zach, who are saying, hey, you know now what to do, when are you gonna do it? And when are we gonna follow up? But also you're like, man, this is actually becoming something. And so you're leaving with the business in the box is out of the box. It's pretty great. So definitely recommend being able to come into town, check it out. Spending time with Aaron is never wasted, but the value that's provided by the live event in particular is just way above the price.
Wow, that was pretty cool, wasn't it? I mean, that was a pretty powerful testimony. I also want to give you a 2-day live intensive right here in my hometown, Nashville, Tennessee, along with myself and members of my team. It's a 2-day intensive where we'll help you create your sales presentations, build your marketing assets, and plan your next level campaign. I want to tell you right now, it is absolutely a blast. It'll be a deep dive and it will be very impactful. But just for a second, I have one more testimonial that I want you to watch.
My name is Carolyn Andrews. My business is Inspired Leaders Now, and I've been doing masterminds for quite a while. I love them. I think they are the best way for people to grow and learn and create deep relationships. And what I knew is that I wanted to do more. I wanted to not just grow, but to really scale my business. And when I found Aaron, it was absolutely perfect. And I thought it was amazing. And then I came here and found out it is beyond amazing. The way he has been able to help us, the information that he shared, the love and care that he has in his heart for us is just amazing. You just can't ask for anything more. If you want to learn how to do a mastermind, he's the man to help you do that. If you know how to do them, you want to be even better and you want to really grow them, he has systems and processes and tools along with all of the knowledge and all of the heart and caring. It's everything you could possibly want. My biggest aha moment this weekend was just to realize that when you put everything in place, you have the tools, you have the process. He brought in expert speakers for us to learn even more than he has to offer. When we put all those in place, it is possible to grow and change people's lives and help more people than you ever thought you could touch, because you really have a business that's being run effectively. You have the tools you need, you have the knowledge you need, and as long as you have the heart and the desire to do it, you can really play big.
Is it okay to cover this again? So what you guys will get when we do this investment today is going to be the Mastermind Playbook 2022 Founders Lifetime Edition, which includes your customized mastermind fill-up campaign, which in my opinion is one of the most impactful sessions that you'll get. You'll get lifetime updates to the playbook, which means as we create new campaigns and tools, we will white label them for you for your own commercial use. We update the playbook twice a year, so it's an ever-evolving system. It has a value today of about $10,000. Also, the 2-day live intensive with my team and I, we value that at about $2,000. So the total value right now is about $12,000. But I also want to give you support right out of the gate. We realized when we launched, the hardest part is when you have the most questions. And in week 1, this is a game changer. You're going to really get clear on everything you need so that you can create a world-class mastermind experience. Week 2 is huge. You're going to build all you need to start recruiting members. And then in week 3, you'll feel like you're driving out of a dense fog into a bright, clear sunlight and realize the goal of launching your group is closer than you think. Week 4, you will become aware of how simple really this whole process is as you start getting people raising their hand ready to join your mastermind. Well, in week 5, This is really big and beautiful, is what I like to call it, because you'll be onboarding members and getting excited about your first mastermind meeting. Well, week 6, it's all about you and how you reward yourself for pulling off your first group launch. For me, I say it's time to celebrate. Well, you now have to ask yourself a couple of tough questions. Will you stop with one group, or will you begin filling up your next group? Inside the playbook, there's a private Facebook community, much like the one that we're in now, that is very engaging, and it's where we will upload all the coaching replays. So here's what you're getting: the Mastermind Playbook 2022 Founders Lifetime Edition, with all the customized fill-up campaign. You know, one person bought this playbook for one section in the playbook. There is enough book recommendations, reading assignments, and prepared questions to lead a weekly mastermind group for 2.5 years. You know, you're also going to get the 2-day live intensive here in Nashville with myself and the coaches. And while in Nashville, I just want to tell you that I love having breakfast, lunch, and dinner with everyone that attends. You know, you also get the 6-week launch accelerator. This is where our team really shines. Zach is an amazing instructor, and Brooke has these systems and processes down pat. They want to teach you and they want to help you be successful. Well, you also get the Mastermind Playbook Founders Only Facebook group, and you will get a lot of value exchanging ideas with other mastermind facilitators. They hand out new ideas in this Facebook. You know, now we're up to about $18,000, which I think is pretty cool. Hey, do you remember this conversation? We talked a lot about accountability being a central component to a successful mastermind group. We noticed something interesting during our last class. Members started self-organizing their own accountability groups. They helped each other really plan and build and launch their groups, and they effectively started to mastermind with each other between our coaching calls. Well, we call that accountability pods. My daughter, Brooke, is a master at orchestrating groups like this. She has created a process to help you find an accountability pod with like-minded, high achievers like yourself when you need support and encouragement from people on the same journey as you. You know, I've been involved in a weekly accountability group now for over 25 years, and I probably would be an absolute disaster if I hadn't had these trusted advisors in my life. Well, what else can I give you? I mean, what do you need to launch your mastermind group? Who here has 2 or more paid mastermind groups? I want you to put a comment in the chat box, if you could, just for a moment. If so, do you have all your systems and processes documented? Well, I can tell you that this was probably the most painstaking part of me growing Iron Sharpens Iron. I hired a gentleman named Kevin Wallenbach as our integrator to come alongside us and really document all of our SOPs. Would this be pretty cool if I gave you everything that we're doing? I mean, can you only imagine that? I mean, how valuable would that be to you today if I gave you this and helped you along the path? Showed you maybe our best engagement tools like the Come As You Will Be, our member one sheets, and all of our structured programs like the duct tape session and the man in the middle. How many of you want to know how to run a live event? I mean, think about that. What if I gave you the systems and the processes to negotiate deals with conference centers on how to run the actual event? Maybe schedule the expert speakers and even down to preparing the menu. Do you think that would be pretty cool? Well, I don't know about you, but I think all this is solid gold. What we have for you is our entire operations manual. Now, if you think about that, having the entire ops manual at your discretion is pretty slick. Every process map, every system, every SOP, and action plan that we've developed over the past 7 years, and we're still developing them as we speak, you're going to get it. You'll get the latest SOPs as they become available. As we roll those out, you'll have total access to that. Listen, I really like what Michael Gerber said. He said, work on your business, not in your business. You can even use these ops manuals to recruit and hire team members, train facilitators, optimize your member fulfillment systems, and negotiate with vendors. Listen, it's not limited to, but it also includes a facilitator's training module, a new member's onboarding course, and the application process. And really, it just goes on and on. There's just dozens and dozens more. So here's what you're going to get with the Mastermind Playbook. You're getting the Mastermind Playbook 2022 Founders Lifetime Edition with a customized fill-up campaign. And I'm going to give you Mike McAllowitz's book, Profit First, so you can follow along that as well. You get the 2-day live intensive here in Nashville with myself and our coaches. I'm even going to role play different scenarios with you at the live event. The 6-week launch accelerator, and we also will throw in our 101 random acts of kindness manual. You also get the private Mastermind Playbook Founders Only Facebook group. And it's also something that can help you is the LinkedIn strategy that I created with 10 pre-written notifications. You also get the Action Takers Accountability Pod, the Mastermind Playbook Operations Manual. Now we're up to $23,000. I mean, what else do you need to get your mastermind group going? Listen, when you get started today, we're going to give you everything that I've shown you and even a little bit more. Listen, if I had to recreate my applications funnel and website, it would easily cost me a fortune. So believe me, I know how tedious and time consuming it is to get it just right. I want to give you, as a part of this package, the same applications funnel that we use every single day. We have worked tirelessly on testing many different strategies, and we believe this to be one of the best application funnels around. And I'm going to make this a part of the package. So here's what you get. You get the Mastermind Playbook 2022 Founders Lifetime Edition with customized fill-up campaign. And I want to remind you that I'm not going anywhere. I've been in Nashville now for 61 years, and I can say with great certainty that we are here to help you work through all of this material. You're going to also get the 2-day live intensive here in Nashville with myself and all the coaches. We will have you actually shooting introduction videos on the spot. I personally will teach you how I use video all the time. You also get the 6-week launch accelerator. We have the most incredible team that wants to answer your questions during the six-week intensive. The private Founders Only Facebook group. And for those who are interested and really serious about being on a great podcast, I will gladly make a few introductions for you. Also, for the Action Takers Accountability Pod, for those who really want to get serious about accountability, we have a weekly progress report that you can complete each and every week. And then you also get the TMP Operations Manual. And when you begin to enroll new members, we have an onboarding process that you are going to love. Plus, you get the quick action bonus, the application funnel. Hey, we're up to $30,000. Obviously, 30 grand is a lot of money. And if you were to buy a franchise today, it could take you up to 2.5 years to recover your initial investment. And I know that you're not buying a franchise today, but you are considering a business in a box investment. Almost every single system and process you need is at your fingertips, readily available. This is why that buying a franchise is a good thing, but there's so many more benefits to the playbook because you don't have to pay any franchise fees or licensing fees with the Mastermind Playbook. Hey, I want to show you some of the results that have come from this. There's a guy named John Clark that is on the West Coast, and he is a very sought-after therapist. John was an early adopter as a beta tester, and today has a very niche mastermind for other counselors and therapists around the world. And I'm excited to announce today that he just launched his 5th mastermind group. There's another great guy named Wayne Herring. Wayne is another amazing coach that was in Iron Sharpens Iron Masterminds for years. And he has a company that he got tired of coaching one-on-one, and he is now trading his time and completing these exercises in his mastermind groups. Rather than just one-on-one, he's now leveraged that time with many amazing mastermind members. You know, there's another guy that rocks the stage. His name is Shane Sams, and he is the founder of Flipped Lifestyle. And he told me that when he launched his mastermind group, listen to this, he had 108 applications immediately. Now, to be fair to him, he has an audience, but he said he only wanted 2 groups in the beginning so he could tweak it and work out any kinks. Listen, this guy has massive plans to scale. And he did tell me something pretty exciting. He said that the moment he launched, he recovered 100% of his investment from the Mastermind Playbook. Shane will be our guest this Friday at noon Central Standard Time, so you get to hear his story for yourself. Well, listen, it's still on you to execute, but if you follow these steps, I promise you it works. I just want to show you guys that this is really working. Vic manages a nonprofit called Replicate, which is owned by Robbie Gallaty, the pastor of one of the fastest growing Southern Baptist churches in the country. Well, Robbie and his team bought the playbook and now uses it for all of the cohorts across the country. They have close to 100 members that are thriving with this system. Robbie's church is also in the process of overlaying this system on their 115-member deacon body. Listen, this thing works everywhere. There's so many applications today that have proven that this is amazing. And it's amazing because we've perfected the framework and we have created all of the systems and processes that you need. Hey, let me ask you a question. Was that worth $30,000? I've got to say, of course it was. They now have a recurring revenue model, a legitimate business that they can later sell to an investor. But some people say, hey, I can't tell you how often I get asked this question. Do you really think that maybe I can figure this out on my own? And I always say, yes, of course you can. It's very hard and there's a lot to it, obviously, but absolutely you can figure this out on your own. What's 1 or 2 mastermind groups worth to you, though? I mean, if you think about it, what is it worth to you to get this up and going? Now you've got $5,000 a month or $10,000 a month or maybe even more recurring revenue. I mean, you'll start to realize that this is very doable once you start going through the playbook. I mean, how much would you pay today to launch your first mastermind group? I mean, we have 18 groups. Each group averages about $5,000 a month. Well, it's awesome. And quite honestly, this is a great investment. And people pay me thousands per hour to help them get their mastermind groups launched. And you have access to everything I teach today in the Mastermind Playbook for just a fraction of that cost. Well, if I did all this, what would you think about starting a mastermind group that could not do anything more than help you earn maybe $120,000 a year of predictable recurring revenue? Would it be worth $30,000? I've got to say, absolutely. You can call that a profit if you want. But if all it did was surround yourself with other high achievers like yourself who paid you to collaborate with them and other like-minded people, do you think it would be worth $30,000? I've got to say again, there's no question about it. Well, if all it did was to connect you with other thought leaders from around the world and influencers, and you got on other people's podcasts, and it helped you grow your fan base list to thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people, would it be worth $30,000? And you have to say, of course it is. Building a following and email list is by far the most valuable thing that you could do for your business. Well, let me just paint the picture. Here's the vision. We can help you get off the ground with your first and second group, and then we can help you focus on growth and scaling to $100,000 mastermind business and maybe even more. $30,000 is a bargain. Bear in mind that we are not going to take any future profits. I mean, many franchises take a huge percentage of the ongoing revenue. Well, once again, the Mastermind Playbook is what you're going to get, the 2022 Founders Lifetime Edition with the customized fill-up campaign. You know, we're going to give you the member promise and the organizational promise document so that you can figure that out on your own. We're also going to give you the 2-day live intensive here in Nashville with myself and the coaches, and you will be connecting with other amazing entrepreneurs while you go on that journey. We're also going to give you the 6-week launch accelerator. And it's pretty cool to be involved with a program where they don't leave you high and dry to figure it out on your own. We're going to be walking in tandem with you all along the way. And then we're going to give you the private founders only Facebook group. Hey, have I even mentioned to you that there are 34 professional videos of me walking you through every step of the playbook? Well, you're also going to get the Action Takers Accountability Pod. There's a pro forma calculator that we will give you to input every cost to see how profitable your mastermind is going to be before you get started. The Mastermind Playbook Operations Manual, and when you do get ready to scale, you will have total access to our facilitator training. Plus, you're going to get the quick action bonus, my application funnel. Listen, guys, 30 grand. That's where we're at right now. And we are making access very simple for you. We've sold the playbook alone, not with all these bonuses that I'm offering you today, many, many times for $10,000 to the public. But because you've been at this launch intensive, I want to give you a special founders only deal. We want you to launch and we want you to be very successful. And the more facilitators that we get launched, the more others are going to discover us and want to get involved in the playbook. This total value of $30,000, we want to give you almost a 90% discount, and we're going to make the price $35.82. Well, hey, it's pretty simple from here. I mean, if you think about a 90% discount in everything that we've given you to go along the way, it's pretty easy to go forward. Here's all you've got to do. You just go to the mastermindlaunchintensive.com/enroll. I want you to fill out the order form. And when you get there, you'll see two options. One is for $29.97. You're like, Big A, you just keep giving. We're going to give you a 20% discount to pay in full today. I mean, we just want to keep blessing. But for those that can't, and you say, I just don't have the money today, we've even set it up on payments. Option number 2 is 6 payments of $597. That's it. That's all you do. This is what the enrollment form looks like. All you got to do is put in your billing information. And then I want you to click on the t-shirt size, because if you do that, I may have a little present for you. Listen, I just want you to know, and I want to reiterate, that I have spent a small fortune over the years on coaches, conferences, and courses. I heard Darren Hardy say one time that the most successful entrepreneurs spend at least 10% of their income on personal and professional development. I didn't really believe this at first, but when I went back and looked at our stats, I found out that I spend more than 10% on my personal and professional development. And I just want to tell you one final time, the Mastermind Playbook 2022 Founders Lifetime Edition, and it includes the customized fill-up campaign. I'm also going to give you Brian Moran's book, The 12-Week Year, as an extra bonus. The 2-day live intensive here in Nashville with myself and the coaches, and you'll get a weekly meeting agenda sheet that you can work through that for your first mastermind. We're going to give you the 6-week launch accelerator, and we will give you prepared scripts for reaching out to new prospects, the private founders only Facebook group, and a brand new yearly planning guide. You're also going to get the Action Takers Accountability Pod, a complete guide to managing the weekly hot seat. You're also going to get the full operations manual, and we give you 4 amazing lead generation tools, plus the quick action bonus, my application funnel, and the best practices for creating amazing call to action strategies. Listen, guys, again, $30,000 is what this would cost if we went through this. I want you to go right now to the mastermindlaunchintensive.com/enroll. I want you to fill out the order form and look at the 2 options. 1, pay in full at $29.97. We have never offered this ever to the public. Also, we have never had a 6-pay plan at $597. If you want to take advantage of that, I would go right now. People are asking me, they're excited, they want to get started. They're like, hey man, when do we get started? It's right away. The accelerator starts on Monday, September the 20th, and we will have 2 sessions per week. We meet on Mondays and Thursdays. You might be curious right now why we're selling the playbook for $35.82. When we first launched, we had a lot of one-on-one clients that quite honestly was very time consuming for me and my team. And we decided to do more of a group setting where we could do more of a done with you so that we could leverage our time better in a group model. So we are offering a founder's price. You know, there's a lot of things that you could do with this money today. There's many other things that you could buy. You could go get a new TV or furniture or art or laptop. However, I want to warn you, those things wear out. This really seems like a much better investment to me that will pay huge dividends going forward. You know, the number one reason people don't launch a mastermind is because they don't understand how to recruit members. I know, I totally get it, but we are going to walk you through this. Other people tell me it's going to feel awkward talking to people about their mastermind. It won't if you follow the strategies that I've given you. It will feel very, very natural. If you are already in a group, I want to tell you, I can teach you to scale. And it's okay if you just want to manage 1 or 2 groups. But let me warn you, masterminds are addictive. There is a small outside chance you will get knee deep into masterminds and think this is not for me. Well, that might happen, but I actually doubt it. Once you see the transformation in your members' lives, like I do each and every week, I think you'll jump in head first. It's very, very rewarding to help others. One of our mastermind members, Danny Sunshine Bauer, had so many upper limit challenges in the beginning around if he added value to others. Well, Danny is in the education space, and I get the privilege every single week with masterminding for Danny, and I have now for about 6 years. I've watched Danny create groups, and now he has more than 60 members in his mastermind. I get the privilege recently of endorsing his new book, and it's been fun to watch his journey. I will have to admit that he had amazing mastermind members in his corner in Iron Sharpens Iron, cheering him on each and every day. And I'm excited that I'm going to be able to walk this journey with you as well. People ask all the time, I'm not sure masterminds would work in the niche that I'm in. Listen, we have architects and dentists, coaches and thought leaders and marketers, podcast hosts. We have psychiatrists, counselors, educators, course creators, authors, most any other specialist or niche that you can think of, mastermind groups would work. Hey, let me just say thank you for spending this time with me today. I want you to know I'm honored. You can see in this slide that there is a lot of value. And if you are ever going to scale, if you're ever going to start a mastermind, right now is the time. You might not ever get an opportunity like this again with securing everything that we're giving you to launch a hugely successful mastermind. You know, people are risk averse oftentimes. And when I was 27 years old, I took a huge chance and bought a piece of property here in Nashville, Tennessee. You know, that was 33 years ago. Someone told me when I bought it, that was very risky. Today, I'm happy to announce that property is worth 10 times what I paid for it. Would I have been okay without it? Absolutely. But I never would have had the opportunity that I've had today had I not bought it. Sometimes you've just got to take a risk. And I want to tell you, this is as close to a guarantee as you could possibly get at this price. And I want to encourage you to get started. I just want to remind you that we don't keep enrollment open all year long. We structure this program strategically throughout the year so that we can serve you well. If there are additional questions, please post them in the Facebook group with a hashtag question. And if you are serious and you want to get involved with the Mastermind Playbook, I want to tell you right now is the time. So go to the mastermindlaunchintensive.com/enroll. I'm excited to have you guys inside the program, and we're going to be hanging out inside the Facebook group for a little while to answer any of your questions. I'm fired up and I can't wait to get you started.